I am Lynn Constantine. I am the head of customer success here at Supermums. So if you would like to talk to me about anything training related, then please find a time. You're always welcome to book in with me, and I will drop in some links from my end so that you are able to do that. Welcome to our masterclass today, and we're going to explore today how to transform your Salesforce experience. The goal is to help you understand the capabilities, opportunities, and practical applications of AI in your daily work. Today, we're focusing on how third-party tools can extend Salesforce AI functionality, especially when it comes to document intelligence. One common challenge we've heard from d.velop is that tools like Agentforce can't easily search and extract data from files and documents stored within Salesforce. So this is where d.velop have joined us today, and they're going to tell us a little bit about what they do. So d.velop offers a solution that helps bridge that gap. And I would like to introduce today John Rockcliffe, who is our guest speaker from d.velop. John is an experienced technology expert who has driven business change for over 15 years, leading technical customer-focused teams and providing information management consultancy to enterprises large and small. So John, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. So let me start by sharing my screen.
I'll stop sharing mine then.
Sure, okay. There we go. And I'll share mine. That should be on the screen now. So welcome everyone. Thank you very much. Really appreciate everyone's time in joining me on this session. So as Lynn said, my name's John Rockcliffe. So I'm actually the pre-sales manager for d.velop in the UK and Ireland. So I thought I'd start by just sort of introducing myself. So it was really nice that Lynn said 15 years. I think my career spans over 20, so I'm a little bit older. But I've mainly worked as a consultant in the world of business optimization software, which includes workflow automation software, intelligent document processing, document management or content services software, as well as some time spent in the world of edge networking and security. And as Lynn mentioned, I've helped businesses in almost all sectors, whether that's fashion, financial services, other tech companies, manufacturers and charities. And really, the one thing I've learned during my career is that technology that is easy to adopt is the best technology that a company will ever buy. Even better than if that technology then either boosts productivity, reduces risk, or provides additional insight. That is really technology that truly makes a difference in an organization. So that was a little bit about me. Let me introduce you to d.velop. So d.velop is a software development company based out of a place called Gescher in Germany. And the vision of the company is really to empower everyone by connecting knowledge. So all of the products and services that our company create and have match with this vision. It is simply software that helps create better working environment for people. So d.velop is a very well established company, especially within its home territory of Germany, with a history of helping businesses make the most of what we call unstructured content. So d.velop has over 1,500 customers in regulated sectors, more than 50 health insurance companies. There are over 120 universities that use our software, as well as over 400 financial institutions. It's estimated that every German citizen has some information or documents stored in a d.velop system, whether that is their insurance policy, their council tax bill, or their bank statement. So we are a very well established company. So what is d.velop software? Well, d.velop offers a platform of technology that is designed to store and secure documents. I probably shouldn't say documents because it's not the 1990s. I should probably say digital files. So everything such as PDFs, Office documents, and those sorts of things. We help simplify processes, especially concerning those documents or the data contained within those documents. And really, again, it's about connecting people with that information in a seamless way. Um, we just talk about our software in this kind of wheel, this menu. Um, d.velop offers a core platform designed to help businesses manage and store files, which is then supplemented with business applications, such as digital contract management, purchase to pay or invoice processing applications as well. And then specific functionalities, such as, for instance, our native digital signature capability, similar to something like DocuSign, which many businesses use in the UK. We also support apps built by our app developer community. Really, what this allows is, as a software development company, it allows us to partner with best of breed applications out there that allow us to create these integrations and interactions between our platform and other technologies. I think that's really key in today's world, that it's not just a focused on one software platform, but the company really looks to other platforms out there to make sure that we're constantly innovating for our customers. As we look at, I suppose, the outer layer of this wheel, it's important that the d.velop platform can be extended and integrated into almost any other third-party system. This includes systems like Microsoft 365 or SharePoint, where we can actually transform the data in SharePoint into a fully fledged document management system. But then there's also integrations with platforms such as Dynamics or SAP or Salesforce, where we can have both user interface and integration, but also data exchange integrations too. So this brings me on to Salesforce. d.velop is a long-term Salesforce partner with deep integrations between the two platforms. Salesforce is often a leading system in many companies and can be used for a variety of different business areas, providing data storage with process and workflows for that data. However, the creation and management of associated files and documents often takes place in a scattered landscape across a modern enterprise. And this also happens within Salesforce as well, where it's architected in a way that files are stored in silos and they're not necessarily centrally available to all employees, both Salesforce users and non-Salesforce users. And this can cause some significant problems in a modern business. So I'd like to take a moment and just talk about some statistics provided by the analysts Gartner. So Gartner estimate that over 80% of the average organization's data or knowledge is stored in an unstructured format. This means that that information is locked away inside files. So if you consider now that inside Salesforce or any other enterprise platform like an ERP system or a CRM system, these platforms only store structured data. So at the most, this accounts for 20% of an organization's data. All of that other data is held in files, whether that's images, emails, spreadsheets. And that data actually grows at 4 times faster than any other type of data that your business has. So there is an absolute deluge of unstructured information that we have to deal with at work. And the load on our business and on us as people, that is only growing. So it's a huge data problem that we have. Now, the average employee uses 37 software tools at work. 70% of those are used to manage unstructured information. So if you think strategically about the software tools that your business invests in, then really most of those are actually focused on the structured information. There's not many that are actually focused on the unstructured. So that means this is potentially an area that can hugely be improved in most modern businesses. The real killer stat for me here is the fact that 20% of the average employee's working time is spent looking for information. For me, that's a huge waste of time. Um, and then, of course, you might think, well, okay, 20%, there's a number there. Maybe that only affects junior employees, maybe those that are doing that kind of searching role. But Gartner's research highlights the fact that actually the more senior the employee, the more time is spent looking for information. So your most expensive resources are potentially wasting the most amount of time when looking for information. And for me, again, this represents a huge hidden cost in the operation of most modern enterprises. It's actually quite easy to know why this is a problem. So let's run through a scenario thinking about documents stored in Salesforce CRM. So here on the screen, we've got a couple of objects. We've got a customer, an opportunity, and a support case that all relate to each other in. Oh,
That's me. That's spoon.
sorry about that. Let me just mute that. So against our customer, we might store, your customer documents. Against the sales opportunity, we've got quotes and internal workings, contracts as well. And then for our support case, we've got emails relating to the customer requesting support, maybe have some evidence, and we've got some maybe root cause analysis documents that are created as that support case is progressed and closed. So this is what we have currently in Salesforce. We have that ability to store these files in Salesforce. But the problem is, wouldn't it be useful, for instance, in this scenario, the support team to understand the details of the contract? Would you not want the contract that's actually signed being visible at the customer level? And then what happens if an email is then received? Where do we store that email? So do we store that email against the customer, the opportunity, the support case? So it's very confusing with this sort of siloed structure of where that information should live. So what do we do as human beings? We store the information everywhere where we need access to it. So an email comes in, it's an important email, and we store it under each level. So we've got duplication. And that duplication happens time and time and again. So the contract that is linked to this object, well, that contract is also saved down and saved in multiple places to allow people to just easily get to the information they need. And that's human nature. Now, there are platforms that don't work in this way. We all use things like Spotify and Netflix in our personal lives. These platforms don't have that mentality. We know how to search for that content. There are no folders in that content. We're not limited on what we're seeing, but everything's connected using data. You get your recommendations of what you would like to watch next, the next song you'd like to listen to, but we're not really searching and searching again and searching again. We're just provided the information that we need. And that is really the approach that we need to take when it comes to business information. So we've spoken about the problem that most of the data in a business is unstructured. And there's also inherent problems of managing unstructured data in silos or folders connected to things. So what can be done? This is the Salesforce architecture. And that architecture, as we've discussed, stores structured data. I introduce you to d.velop, and we store unstructured data. So really what we do at d.velop is we provide a business layer under or adjoining to Salesforce that underpins Salesforce with intelligent document storage. So what does that look like and how does that work? So d.velop as a platform stores a single copy of a file and that file is given a document type relating to, whatever that file is. So whether that's the quote or the know your customer document or whatever that document is. So we give our files a classification. And then what we can do is we can provide context for those files using data and create views or windows into that data based upon the context of how you'd like to see that information. So just like Salesforce, we can have a customer view, an opportunity view, or a support case view. But instead of those files living within those folders, within those silos, we can just simply use data to make sure that wherever that user is looking, we're showing them the files that are going to relate to them and relate and help them do their job. Once we've got these views can then be integrated with Salesforce at those layers. So again, we're improving Salesforce by removing the siloed architecture for file storage and linking it with this new kind of data-based structure that allows a more dynamic viewing of content. So let's watch this live. So this is Salesforce, and what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to an opportunity. Within that opportunity, you'll see that you've got a documents tab, the same as you have now, but instead this now shows develop documents. This tab can be filtered and searched and sorted, and as you should imagine, files can be opened. But this time they're done so within inside the develop documents viewer that provides access to a host of extra functionality that allows users to do things like markup documents, add workflow, and we'll come along to those some of those extra features a little bit later. So you'll see from that quick demo that the interface for users is exactly the same as it is now in Salesforce. And that's quite an important thing. We don't want to have to train our users all the time. I spoke before about the best software is the software that's adopted. And if we have to go through long adoption cycles, then software just won't simply be used. So the integration between develop and the Salesforce platform provides this bi-directional exchange of data so that the document platform can reuse that data that's already within Salesforce to provide that context to the files that you're storing. It allows that seamless connectivity. It also extends the reach of Salesforce into your Office applications such as Team and Microsoft Office. But integration isn't just about viewing and retrieving content. Salesforce manages data workflows for your business. So with native integration to Salesforce flows, you can now include document-centric workflows with Salesforce. So perhaps a new contact form is completed online. Well, why don't we let that contact form create a new record in Salesforce? Perhaps there's a complex deal review going on with associated calculations that are then completed and then need to go through a review cycle. And we can do that in develop workflow, document-centric workflow. Once that workflow is complete, perhaps we set a flag in Salesforce allowing the deal to proceed. With develop sign, which is our integrated digital signature solution, that's a lot more affordable option compared with other signing solutions out there. Perhaps a contract is actually physically signed, and we want, once that contract is signed, to automatically mark a deal in Salesforce as closed won. These are just a couple of examples, but it's important that we're then extending the reach of Salesforce to become document or file aware as things flow through our business. The whole purpose is really for automation and simplicity, making sure that those workflows and processes that happen in Salesforce are then extended to the rest of your business. And of course, the story doesn't actually end there. So the storage of files, well, yes, that could be in the develop platform, But equally, so many companies have a Microsoft strategy where rather than creating other platforms or using other platforms for storage, you want to reuse your Microsoft estate. So again, using d.velop, the actual file storage could be based on Microsoft SharePoint. As I mentioned before, d.velop helps the Microsoft SharePoint environment be created into a full document management environment. But also, data exchange isn't just with Salesforce. Salesforce is not the only application your business uses. And so d.velop actually has integrations, native integrations with other platforms such as SAP, Dynamics, and NetSuite that allow data to flow between these applications using our platform. So really d.velop becomes the enterprise layer for file or document management. So this is all, I suppose, traditional technology. And actually the whole purpose of this session was to talk about AI. So I suppose that's enough of the basics. Let's talk about the more funky stuff that builds upon this foundation. So it's worth starting at the beginning. So AI is a broad term over a set of technologies that really is designed to enable faster, more accurate predictions and reliable data-driven decisions. It encompasses technologies such as machine learning, deep learning, and generative technologies. It's probably worth noting that robotic process automation, which there are many tools that use this, RPA focuses on automating repetitive tasks, rule-based tasks, and RPA is not AI. If you give an RPA tool a function today, it will provide that function evermore. AI can handle more complex cognitive tasks, those including unstructured data, true unstructured data, and it can supplement decision making and, of course, learning and self-improvement as the engines live within an organization. The emergence of large language models and scalable, affordable cloud architecture has actually ushered in the rapid acceleration in AI innovation over the past few years. However, AI technology is not new. So in computer science, the fundamentals of AI have been around since the 1950s. And actually, machine learning technology, which is one of the foundations of AI, has been in use since the 1990s. So d.velop, as a software company, we've actually been using machine learning technology in our classification and data extraction engines for many years to great effect. And this subset of AI used to classify documents, not necessarily all documents, but a subset of documents coming into specific departments like an accounts payable invoice inbox, where we are identifying metadata based upon the document type and using that data to match data from a trusted source. So an ERP system to confirm the validity of that data, and of course, then to push transactions into those systems. And these engines can make decisions based upon historical trends, whether a document can be straight through processed or if a human is needed to validate and approve a transaction. So this is all technology that has been in platforms for many, many years. And actually, when we look at the timeline of AI, through the last few decades, even deep learning engines designed for natural language processing have been possible for well over 15 years, dating back to the early 2000s. So I suppose the question is, why has this technology not yet reached the masses, or hasn't until recent history reached the masses? Well, the problem has really been the cost of storage, processing capacity, and the speed of processing. This has really been kind of the limiting factor of why this technology hasn't necessarily hit our desks until recent times. I think this is a kind of a funny story. If we actually go back to 2011, which was, believe it or not, 14 years ago, IBM, with their access to supercomputer levels of computing power were able to run Watson with their neural network for natural language processing to use generative AI to win the game show Jeopardy. So I think it's really testament to how far we've come with technology, that this similar technology that needed a supercomputer to run only, 14 years ago is available in almost every home today. This technology, or similar technology, can run on a device that you carry around in your pocket. Another fun fact is that the iPhone from 2011, which was the iPhone 4S, released at the same year that Watson won Jeopardy, is actually fully compatible with Apple's AI. I'm not going to mention the name because everyone's phone will probably bring up if I say the name beginning with S. But the technology that was available in 2011, the mobile technology, is now capable of running these latest AI engines. So in 2025, we can therefore expect that almost all software platforms should really be able to benefit from this AI technology. So if we look at Salesforce, Salesforce has two engines. They have Einstein and Agentforce. You might think, well, why do we have two? Well, just like humans, AI engines have their own talents. So Einstein is an example of a co-pilot style engine, which is an AI engine that works by receiving natural language prompts by humans and provides answers to solutions. Agentforce, however, is a workflow engine designed to provide automation through semi-structured processes and automated triggers. So both of these engines are fantastic within the Salesforce platform. But as we discussed before, these engines understand only the data inside Salesforce, which we know to be only 20% of the data that our enterprise manages. So what about the other 80%? Again, this is where d.velop comes in with our engine, the d.velop pilot. So d.velop pilot is specifically developed to understand the data held within files. So files stored within the d.velop platform. It also can understand the metadata connected to those files. So how can Pilot help a user? Well, when looking at a document, you can start asking questions. So large language models provide features that allow users to ask questions, such as the ability to create a summary of a document. So here we go. There's a summary of the document. But also, in the modern way, we're actually providing prompt catalogs to users to allow users to ask more intelligent questions, such as, find any actions in this document, or, for instance, find any risks within this document. And of course, a user can, of course, ask their own questions as well. So I think this type of technology, especially, if you've used Adobe's platform, it's obviously now in Microsoft Office. This type of technology has been very well integrated in the last 12 months into many platforms. So we know we can do this level of or use this level of generative AI at a document level, but we also may want to use generative AI to assist us with searching, especially a wider data set. So in this next demonstration, we're going to just show a natural language question that provides an answer, but also a hit list of where the AI engine has found its answer. So it's worth noting that this is done with something called retrieval augmented generation, so that the user only sees the content that they would otherwise already have access to. So the engine only derives answers from the content that you can already see. Finally, like Agentforce, AI can be integrated into workflow, but this time document-centric workflow. So on the screen now, this is the d.velop workflow engine. It's been historically used to create processes based upon logical automations and, of course, user interaction and tasks. But now each step of this process is a place to ask and automate natural language questions and then route information accordingly. So as unstructured content comes into our business, well, what document is this? What is the key data? And then potentially, what are the risks? Should this document be automated? Do we need to route the information captured and the document to a person for their action and their expertise? In this level of processing, I think humans are still key. So there's a lot of historical or enterprise or industry knowledge that we all have that is needed to answer questions and make decisions on behalf of a business. So certainly in our implementations, the key here is have AI do the heavy work, the heavy lifting, finding that information for users. And if that information is found, route to a human to make the final decision. As I said before, humans, like AI engines, have their own talents. We all work better when we work together and we combine our talents. So to truly unlock the power of AI in Salesforce, we need to give Salesforce's AI access to that other 80% of your data. And we can do this by extending integrations of the Salesforce engines through to d.velop Pilot. So let's look at that working in practice. So we're in Salesforce and we have a contract object with a related document. The document is the signed contract. So essentially, from a legal standpoint, that is the thing that is legally important. So we can ask Einstein to create a summary of the contract based upon the information in the linked document. And once that summary is created, maybe store that in Salesforce. So this is not a native feature of Salesforce's own AI, but an example of a Salesforce user using Einstein, which passes the question to d.velop, where we're able to get the answer and pass that back into Salesforce. But let's look at another example. So if we stick with a contract, we have data in our Salesforce objects. But this time we're going to ask maybe a more challenging question. Are there any discrepancies in the data that we already have against the signed contract? Again, the signed contract being the object in our business, which is the only thing that legally matters. So we need to ensure that that data in Salesforce is accurate. So in the example on the screen, the contract term that we have in Salesforce is wrong. But with Einstein chatting to Pilot, the correct term for the document can be extracted. And then we have continuity between what we're storing in our document system and the data that's stored in Salesforce. And there we go, the data has been updated. So quite simple, but quite powerful use of technology. So I wanted to come back to this kind of architectural diagram. So as well as all of those kind of foundational features that we spoke about, now we can add AI connectivity into this mix by specifically allowing AI engines to talk to one another. We can start designing solutions that extend our capabilities from one platform to another and really unlocking all of that enterprise knowledge that you have locked away in files. And of course, powered by workflow using Agentforce, and then extending that to d.velop Pilot and d.velop's Process Studio, not only can we ask these questions as users, we can actually automate the asking of questions in our processes. So as content arrives, as work flows through our business, we can ask AI to automatically have these questions answered so that by the time that these transactions land on our desks, we're providing our users with all of the information that they need to make the right decisions on behalf of the business. this is not just about kind of improving data quality, but also understanding if there's anything that we've missed, understanding if there are any deliverables that we should be aware of, and any other potential opportunities for hidden revenue that would otherwise be locked away in the files that we store. So I want to finish the webinar here, just as a summary. So AI is great for understanding large amounts of data and for natural language processing. If 80% of our information coming into our business is unstructured, it truly is ripe for automation and to provide insights into this data. I would think, working with customers over the last 20 years, many businesses need to start with the basics, creating a single version of the truth with connected content, connecting unstructured information with the data that lives in our core businesses. And we can do that with a system like d.velop. And then we can provide a platform where we can augment AI into the processes that really matter. That's going to help us identify and deal with diverse inputs that come into our business, accelerate response times to this information, be that in kind of day-to-day operations, but also help us deal with the unexpected, help us deal with the risks and actions in the unexpected things that land on our desk. We can then quickly gain insights and allow humans to make the informed, knowledgeable decisions in our business. So you can absolutely unlock the potential of AI in Salesforce by integrating and providing access to the other 80% of data that flows through our business. Thank you for your time. I'll hand over to Lynn in a second. What I would say, just as a final thing, if anyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, there's a QR code on the screen that will take you to my profile. If you'd actually like to see any other kind of further demonstrations of the d.velop platform connected to Salesforce, the QR code that's on the screen will actually take you to an interactive demonstration where you can learn about and see live some of the topics raised in this session. So with that, final thank you for me, and I'll hand over to Lynn.
Thank you, John. I mean, I'm sure everyone will agree. What a great session that was. Thank you, John. We really appreciate that. We will have a little bit of a Q&A towards the end. So if you've got any questions, please have them fresh and ready, and I'm sure John will help them. I know I've got a couple of questions. But I do have to say this really complements when we teach Data Cloud at Supermums. It's a bit of a non-negotiable, actually. I think if you are planning to, be building agents, if you're planning to having, combining these approaches. I'm just going to let somebody in. There's somebody coming in a bit late, I know, but we will be sending the recording out, so don't worry about that. But if it's something that you are really interested in, I mean, I'm sure that you found this as exciting as I have. I love every day. There's something new happening every day for sure. But as I said, with Supermums, we offer Salesforce training, as you already know. And, if you're serious about building intelligent agents, especially in Salesforce with Agentforce, you can't skip Data Cloud. I did see on the slides that John's brought up, there's quite a lot about Data Cloud in there. It's the foundation. When you consider that it bridges the gaps, if you like, between the theory and the practical application. So you can get your hands on guided learning. You can demystify everything. And when you think about data ingestion, harmonization, identity resolution, and real-time segmentation, I think it's something that you need to start thinking about if you're planning to take this to another level for sure. And obviously, having Data Cloud in your toolbox and Supermums will help you get there. So in terms of when is our next course, I hear you say, it starts in September. So please look out for that. If you've got any questions, absolutely, I am here for you. We have a great team at Supermums that can help and advise and support you. So please feel free to book in some time with one of us. I will drop the chat in a second. Just to let you know that the course will be, it's 1,600. And that's obviously in GBP. You might need to convert that depending on where you are. And when we talk about BST, UK time zone, it's Wednesdays and Thursdays from 1 till 4:30, and it ends in October. So, you know, it's a nice short course. It's something for you to get your teeth into, you know, just come along and find out a little bit more. We are always here and we're always happy to help. So on that note, does anyone have any questions for John, please? If you want to drop them in the chat or feel free to come on, you're welcome either way. There is something in the chat. I don't know if that is a question. Let's have a look. No, that's you, John.
Yeah, just me, just my link.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So let me just kick it off then.
Yep.
So from what I understand, and you know, it's something that you probably covered, but just a question from my side. To use d.velop's tool, you need to migrate your files into the platform. So could you walk us through a little bit about what the migration looks like? Am I right in thinking it's a one-time move or is it an ongoing sync?
A really good question. So we provide the technology. It's up for the customers to decide how that works.
Okay.
So of course, if you want, you can do one-time migrations, and some people prefer that, just a big lift and shift. Other people decide actually they want to, only selectively bring across certain content. We actually provide a tool that again is part of our integration with Salesforce. That provides access to both the historical, the kind of pre-existing Salesforce library and the connected d.velop storage, and allows a user to select which content they would like to bring across into d.velop. Some companies like to go through that kind of data cleansing exercise. So they, responsible people, whether it's an account manager or HR manager, whatever that scenario is in Salesforce, and the responsible people, they actually make their employees responsible for bringing over content. And it's a great training exercise as well. So, if I, as an account manager, bring across the content, then magically what I'll see is that content appear in all the places that I'd like to see it. But again, some people do like the more the lift and shift approach, where they outsource that to a consulting firm to go and do that data transformation and exercise for them.
Great, thank you. And I hope that probably answers someone else's question that's on here. Nobody else has asked anything, so I'm just going to ask one more question, and then you've clearly done a great job if nobody needs to ask you anything. So how does security and access control work when moving sensitive documents into d.velop?
Yeah, it's the approach changes, right? So you've got security controls in Salesforce based upon data. We match that data across into the d.velop platform using those same data-based security controls. So it's the age-old thing of, if you build security in silos, in folders, people are going to work around it. Yeah, oh, I don't have access to that folder, so I'm going to ask my friendly colleague to move that important file into my folder so I can work on it, and it tends to break down. So what we do is we take an approach like you do in Salesforce, using data to control that security, and that data then flows through to the d.velop platform, and we have that almost like pass-through type security. And then of course with AI, it's very important that the engines have that kind of retrieval augmented generation approach, where if I ask the AI engine a question, it'll only give me an answer based upon the content, the data, and the documents that I, as a user, have access to. So it's not going to give me an answer based upon something I shouldn't see.
Good, that's brilliant. Okay. So just one last chance. I'm going to throw it out one more time. Surely someone must have one question for John. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So from me, thank you so much for joining today's masterclass. We always enjoy having you come along. So thank you for taking time out of your day to join us today. John, did you want to just add anything to finish up?
No, I appreciate everyone's time. Obviously, if there's a link in the chat and there's a QR code that people can scan if they rewatch the presentation, if they want to see any of the software running live, they need either only to reach out to me or scan that QR code, and they can see all the demos online.
Great. And I'm just going to pop a couple of links in quickly. I'm going to put in the Stuart said an amazing demo. Thank you. So that's brilliant. Thank you. I agree. So I'm just going to put in the data cloud if you want to see a little bit more about that. And if you got any questions at all for myself or for John, if you just drop me an email, and then obviously I can run it past John. And of course, he has already given you his LinkedIn, so you are very welcome to meet up with him on there and ask him any questions over LinkedIn. So hopefully you found it useful today. If you need anything, oh, great. John's put in his email address. So thanks for that, John. So email John, email me if you're looking for any training for either you as an individual or your team. And we look forward to seeing you on the next session. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lynn.
You're welcome.